We're just a couple of days away from the 2-month anniversary of the release of the Nintendo Switch 2, and honestly, it's been a pretty successful launch for the system, but everybody kind of anticipated that. Coming off the back of their most successful console ever, there was reason to anticipate that this would be the biggest console launch in history. It was ostensibly just an upgraded Switch in every way that it mattered. And so as long as Nintendo didn't completely fumble the release, they were going to end up breaking this record. And so they did. And now that we're 2 months into this, we have a few more numbers to assess. And well, a lot of people were right about this console, myself included, breaking the record as the best-selling launch in history. But it also looks like a lot of us are also going to be right about the long-term viability of this console. But let's take a look, okay? A seemingly unbreakable sales record once held by the legendary PlayStation 2 and the Game Boy Advance in Japan have finally been toppled. The record breaker is none other than the Switch 2, Nintendo's latest gaming machine. Yes, with the launch, more explosive than anything seen before in the history of gaming. Switch 2 sells over 1.5 million units in Japan in its first month. Yes, eclipsing the Game Boy Advance back in, God, what was that, 2004? Might have even been earlier than that, but yeah, 1.3 million units, and the PlayStation 2 back in 1999 with 1.1 million units. But that's just Japan. What does the rest of the world look like? So the Switch 2 storm isn't limited to Japan. Its popularity has spread globally, with 3.5 million units sold in just the first 4 days. In another major market, the United States, sales reached 1.1 million units sold in its first week. Interesting. The success is resounding affirmation of Nintendo's strategy. After the failure of the Wii U, the company regained its glory with the hybrid model of the Nintendo Switch. Now, the Switch 2 doesn't just inherit that success, it elevates it, really reinforcing Nintendo's dominance in the portable gaming space, where even Sony stumbled with the PS Vita. Well, they just kind of abandoned that. Like, that one's going to be a consistent point of confusion because it was selling pretty well. It was at a decent price point. I think about the only thing, which is also an issue for the Switch as well, but just the proprietary memory cards on a unit where your home consoles that had hard drives for, 2 generations, but the PS Vita was like super powerful. It had good games. It's just, for whatever reason, Sony just stopped supporting it. But looking in on the US side of things and comparing the Switch 2 with the Switch 1 directly, well, it's interesting how things are just lining up so appropriately with one another, okay? So we got Switch 2 versus Switch 1 sales comparison in the US for the first full month of sales data that's available right now. And likely within the next couple of weeks, we'll get some of that July data as well. So VG Chart sales comparison series of articles are updated monthly, blah, blah, blah. Nintendo Switch 2 launched, June, what was it, 4th or something like that, 2025 in the US, and the Switch launched, in March of 2017. So yes, this does mean that the holiday periods for the two consoles don't quite line up. Because what did you have, Easter release? Is that when Easter was back in 2017? I can't remember, but yeah, June is like, in the middle of summer, so, okay, man. But yeah, the gap between there and the way that they're selling, at least right now within the first couple of weeks, it's fairly similar. It's just the Switch kicked off with 500,000 units as opposed to the 1.25 that the Switch 2 had off rip. But yes, after 5 weeks on the market, the Switch 2 has 1.6 million US sales, as opposed to, in this time frame, the Switch 1 had just under 1,908,000 units sold. June 2025, yes, the first month that the Switch 2 had been available in the United States. During the latest month, the Switch 2 has outsold the Switch 1 by 720,000 units. Now, when you align the launches, the Switch 2 is now ahead of the Switch 1 by, 720,000 units, which is, hey man, fantastic launch, 100%. It's just, there's more to the success of a console than just simply selling the console. Gillette, Bic, Schick, they can't get by just simply selling razor blade handles. They kind of need to sell razors as well. So what about the games? What about the games going on over on the Nintendo Switch 2? Well, when it comes to first-party title releases, there's really only one that's out there, and honestly, the conversation surrounding that game right now is a big impetus for why I wanted to do this game, because every single time, I remember upon release of the Switch 2, okay, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing these mid-looking clips where it was really tough to discern whether or not it was Mario Kart World, or if this was Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because they look very much the same, but I guess one has grinding and 24 character races. But yeah, those clips were everywhere, man. It was quite the poppin' console at the time, but in between all of those hype clips about, oh my god, this is peak Mario Kart, you would see people going, yeah, I ain't paying $500 for this shit. Okay, and no, I don't want to support a company that is trying to charge $80, $90, $100 for a game. Yeah, I'll just chill out and I'll just wait until there's actually reason enough to buy the console. And honestly, like, we just had a big release in the form of Donkey Kong Banaza, and people have already played through the game. It's getting, right now, it's getting a lot of hype for Game of the Year, but been about a week since I've seen any sort of clips or any sort of chatter about that game. And honestly, if it's not for me trying to suss out any information on the Switch 2, I would have totally forgot that this launched not but 2 months ago, because it's really not hitting, guys. Okay, Elden Ring's $40 spinoff outsold Nintendo's big Switch 2 launch game in June. It's almost like there's a blueprint out there. What are the best-selling games so far this year? Elder Scrolls 4 Remaster, okay, and that launched at $80. Oh, no, right, that launched at $50. Then you have Clair Obscur Expedition 33. That was also a full price. Oh, no, wait, that was a $50 title. And then you had Elden Ring, Nightreign, that came out, and I'm pretty sure it set a few different stream records, okay? And then over on Steam, it had, I'm pretty sure, over 1 million concurrent players. Like, it was a huge launch, and it had a fairly sustained player base for quite a while. And yeah, at $40, I think you can see a pattern developing. It's almost like gamers more than willing to play new games. It's just as long as they look enticing and as long as they're priced appropriately, which at this point in time on Nintendo, you're not really doing that. Let's take a look at some of the numbers. $40 expansion of a 3-year-old game just outsold Nintendo's biggest and only Switch 2 launch title, Nightreign, Elden Ring Nightreign, launched at the end of May of 2025. It's a standalone multiplayer spin-off from FromSoft's hit open-world RPG. Meanwhile, Nintendo's brand new console, the Switch 2, hit shelves June 5th. Okay, there it is. I guess we split the difference. I thought it was the 4th or the 6th that ended up being the 5th. Paired with its showstopper, Mario Kart World, which, if you take a look at any of the conversation going around right now, well, people are really excited about the game. Oh no, wait, they're touting its death already. Nobody can get a full 24-player lobby. Conversations about the game have practically dried up. But hey, no, it's a great game, and the Switch 2 is definitely a console worth buying. Mario Kart World was announced in April during the Direct. Yes, the system debuted at $450 or $500 with Mario Kart World included. Or, you know, if you just buy that $450 console because you just want a console that'll play your old games, but theoretically they'll perform a little bit better because there is a slightly improved hardware. And then later down the line, you wanted to pick up Mario Kart World, well, don't worry about that. Then you can pay $80 for the game, depending on where you're at. If you're up here in Canada, you can pay, what, $110 for it? You can go fuck yourself. Both the console and the game received heavy promotion and a strong initial demand. And yet, when the June sales data dropped, Elden Ring, yes, took the top spot. In a month packed with huge launches, including Stranding 2, another game that is getting a lot of praise, which is so funny, right? Because that's another game that I've seen a lot of hype around for like a week, and then it all dried up. Nobody's talking about that game anymore, but hey, it's definitely going to be Game of the Year, but it probably will be over at, you know, Jeff Keighley's little joint, so him and Kojima can jack each other off on stage. And Mario Kart World and Nightreign still managed to come out on top. Yeah, exactly. It was the best-selling game in the United States for June 2025, according to Circana's latest data, which Mario Kart World came in third. It's surprising. It's a surprising win for the spin-off that costs less than half of the new Switch bundle. Well, yeah, exactly. Nightreign isn't a fluke either. It just sold 2 million units in one day and over 3.5 million in the first 5 days. Reviews were strong, Steam ratings quickly turned very positive, and the game stuck to a full game pricing instead of leaning on microtransactions. That helped it in May and June's charts. It also helped the Nightreign is multi-platform and available for $40. By contrast, Mario Kart World is tied to a $500 investment. The price difference may have played a role, especially for players already stretched for hardware upgrades. Yeah, exactly. Other big winners include Stranding 2 in second place, and Stellar Blade jumping 180 spots to land in fifth place. Cyberpunk 2077 re-entered the top 20 at 18 thanks to deep discount and next-gen patches. And also being, because we talked about this before, the best-selling third-party game to hit the Switch 2. But ultimately, that doesn't mean Mario Kart flopped or the Switch 2 stumbled. Both are doing incredibly well. Yeah, finishing third behind a title that sold at least 4 million copies, if we can go ahead with that. Okay, 2 million units, one day, 3.5 in its first 5. So yeah, even if we sit at 5 million, if we want to be super generous. And for as far as I can tell, Death Stranding 2 has sold 1.5, 1.6 million copies, so we don't have any firm numbers on Mario Kart, but if it comes in third place and your second place has 1.5 million sales, and you have apparently sold 5 million consoles, I'm just wondering if this math is mathin', or if gamers are finally starting to talk with their wallets, because even companies, even greedy ones like Microsoft, are starting to take note and going, oh, cool. Instead of gouging our customers, we can actually entice them to take a flyer on a game they would otherwise be unenthusiastic about playing. Microsoft cuts the prices of Outer Worlds 2 and other holiday Xbox games. Because, yeah, we talked about Outer Worlds 2 when it came out, and it was going to be an $80 game upon release, but not so much anymore. Microsoft is going back on its plans to raise the prices of its first-party Xbox titles, so I guess that's what it should be, to $80 for later this year. The company confirmed on Wednesday that it will be cutting the prices of the Outer Worlds 2 and other full-priced holiday releases back to $70. Those who already paid $80 for the Outer Worlds 2 will get refunds from their point of purchase. After that, you'll be able to pre-order the game again at the new $70 price. In a statement to Windows Central, the company said the decision comes in order to line with current market conditions. Oh wow, Nintendo tried something, and it failed, but it did succeed, guys. Don't worry, it's a big launch that people are definitely continuing to support. We're focused on bringing players incredible worlds to explore, and we'll keep with our full-priced holiday releases, including Outer Worlds 2 at $70 in line with current market conditions. Yep, they tried. Nintendo tried to start off the trend of the $80 first-party title, and it looks like they failed. They failed spectacularly, and as such, companies are going to have to wait a little while longer. They're going to have to wait to price gouge at least one more holiday season, because by the time that GTA 6 comes around, I'd imagine they're going to be feeling a little bit more emboldened, but perhaps they're going to get slapped down to reality even quicker when they realize that, yeah, GTA 6 is going to sell gangbusters. It is going to be the biggest video game launch of all time. It's going to be the biggest entertainment launch of all time, but everything else around that, oh yeah, the oxygen is going to get sucked out of that room, and all of those lofty aspirations are once again going to get smacked right back down to earth. Oh well. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.